Hey there, this is Melissa Hochstetler on the campus of Huntington University. You're listening to Rooted, an in-depth conversation with interesting people and topics that matter to the Forrester family. Make sure you subscribe to Rooted on iTunes, Google Play, or Spotify. You can find us by searching Forrester Radio Rooted. And you can even catch Rooted Sunday evenings at 7 on 105.5 WQHU. Today I'm joined by Melissa Hochstetler. Melissa is a second grade teacher at Covington Elementary in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Melissa, thanks for joining me today.
Oh, Megan, I am so happy to be here. Thank you for having me, and this is so exciting to be interviewed by you because I went to Huntington, well, they called it Huntington College back then, but I went to Huntington University too, so it's very exciting to be interviewed by my daughter.
So my first question that I have for you is, how long have you been teaching for?
I have been teaching for about 18 years. I started in Huntington County and taught fifth grade for 5 years. Then I stayed home for you guys for a little while and then decided to get back into teaching. And that's where I landed a job at Covington Elementary and have been there ever since. And that's been about 15 years.
What would be like the comparisons between the two schools that you've worked at and just with the staff and other things like that?
Well, Megan, that's kind of hard to say because right out of college many, many years ago, I started teaching at Lancaster Elementary for about 5 years, and then I decided to stay home when I had my two lovely children, my two daughters. So a lot has changed over the years. So to compare Huntington County with Southwest Allen County is kind of hard because a lot of things have changed over the years.
What are you currently teaching at Covington, and is there anything that you would like to start teaching in the future, or do you see yourself teaching whatever you're teaching right now long term?
Currently, I am teaching second grade at Covington Elementary, and I am in what is called a job share. So it has worked out very well for me and my family. The job share means that I get to teach all my second graders the morning schedule, which entails the reading and the language and the writing. And then I have a job share partner, which I work very well with. We have the same teaching styles, and he gets to teach the afternoon schedule, which includes the math and the science and the social studies. So although we have to apply for that every year, I think a job share has many benefits to it. It allows a fresh teacher every day, especially in the morning, and then a new teacher at noon. And especially if you have two teachers that have very similar teaching styles, it works out very well.
And have you always taught a job share in your past, or have you taught other things?
Well, at Lancaster Elementary, which is kind of funny, well, not really funny, it's no longer there anymore. They just tore it down. I did teach fifth grade there, and that was right out of college. So I was a brand new teacher, had a lot to learn, but I did love that school and I loved the staff there, and lots of great memories were made there, and the principal was awesome, Mr. Purcell. So I had a great start in fifth grade at Lancaster Elementary, but I do love second grade, and I think that is probably where I will stay for as long as I can.
So starting off at Lancaster, did anybody specifically get you into education, or was it previous from Lancaster, or did you have any role models going into education?
Well, right out of college, I was looking for a job, but before I graduated, I did do my student teaching at Lancaster in second grade with Mrs. Tinkle, and it was such a fantastic experience. So right out of college, I ended up doing a maternity leave in fifth grade and then ended up teaching fifth grade the following year.
So you were an alum of Huntington University. How was your experience going through the education program there versus your current job now? Do you see any similarities with student teaching through Huntington, and how did they really prepare you for your journey as an educator?
Well, Megan, I started out college wanting to be a meteorologist. Can you believe that? But then I happened to take a couple of education classes and I fell in love. I knew that teaching was for me because I love kids, and just with those classes and the professors and how they introduced me to education and all the experiences that I had at Huntington, I knew I had made the right choice.
So moving on to my next question for you, Melissa, what are your different degrees that you have in education and your different educational history background?
Well, I have a BS in elementary education with a kindergarten endorsement. And again, I student taught at Lancaster Elementary, which again is no longer there. There's some great teachers and great memories were made there. And Mr. Purcell was the principal at that time. And I do have a few graduate classes that I have taken at Indiana Wesleyan. So that's my educational history.
So this question is kind of targeted towards your teaching style. Do you think personally that your teaching style has changed since you started teaching, if at all, or have you really stayed consistent with how you've taught your kids?
For the most part, Megan, my teaching style has remained the same. I totally believe that students need to have fun and be engaged while learning, and I am constantly thinking of ways to present a lesson in a creative way, a fun way. And I think it's also important to develop a positive relationship with the students. Just really get to know them and show them that you care. They will respect you for that. And more importantly, set expectations on day one. Students need to know expectations and boundaries with each other and with the teacher. So fun but firm has always been my motto.
Since you previously taught fifth grade at Lancaster and now you teach second grade, how has your teaching style kind of just differed between those as there's a different environment of the age groups and whatnot?
Trying to remember way back when I taught fifth graders, I know, or I can remember that there was not as many behavior problems and discipline wasn't as much of an issue as it is now. Today we are dealing with a lot of behavior problems on a daily basis, so I would say if anything has changed, it has been that.
How do you kind of tailor your style of teaching towards your students?
So all my students, when they come into second grade, they're coming in at different levels, and it's important to look at each student individually and grow them from where they're at. So my planning each week is based on that. My guided reading groups are based on meeting the needs, the individual needs of my students, and tailoring those plans just for each student.
So moving on to just the location that you teach in Northeast Indiana, what kind of opportunities and challenges have you found in this area?
Oh, Megan, it is such an opportunity to teach a room full of second graders, just to work hard with them all year, just to see their growth that comes at the end of the year, because second grade is a big growth year. So to see how much growth each student makes by the end of the year is just amazing to me. Also to see the confidence that develops with each child. But saying all that, challenges do arise. Our class sizes are very high. Our second grade classes are at 26 students. So with that, behavior is an issue every day. So those are the challenges that we work with on a daily basis is behavior issues and high class sizes.
So did you always plan on teaching in this school or location, or did it kind of just happen with your family and how we settled down? You just found this area, or were you just kind of looking for this area?
So as I was thinking about getting back into teaching after you and McKenna had gotten to a certain age, the principal at Covington, Mr. Groff, had called me and asked me if I would be interested in taking a third grade position for a teacher that had to take a leave of absence for a health issue. So I stepped in there, and then the next year, the teacher that I stepped in for, we actually had talked about doing a job share. So from that position the previous year, we ended up being job share partners for the following year. And from there, we have just worked very well. Our teaching styles, like I said, are very similar, and we have been doing our job share for about 15 years now.
So going back to different challenges that you've faced, overall, are there any challenges that you faced as a teacher, and how did you kind of overcome those issues?
Yes, Megan, the large class sizes, like I said, is always a challenge. When you have 26 second graders needing you all day long, that becomes a challenge. Curriculum changes are also always a challenge. Maybe you might not agree with some of the curriculum changes, but still have to abide by what the school system is telling you to do. Also, behavior issues that are dealt with on a daily basis. So all of those challenges are dealt with every year. So I have to kind of constantly remind myself why I got into teaching. And I love the kids and I love helping them learn and become successful. And they end up becoming very confident individuals by the end of the year. So I have to, with those challenges, always remind myself why I got into teaching is because I love the kids and I love helping them learn and become successful.
So kind of piggybacking off the idea of big class sizes, do you ever find it difficult to give individual attention and education to students that need it most and students that are doing maybe better than those students? Do you think that it's kind of challenging to work with all of your students on an individual basis?
That's a good question, Megan. That is one of the biggest challenges we face as teachers is to constantly becoming aware of the kids that need us most. And also, Megan, not forgetting about those kids that really don't need us, but they still do need us. And you worry about those kids that are in the classroom that maybe don't need as much help, but you still want to give those kids the help that they deserve. So yes, Megan, it is a constant struggle every day to make sure that you are giving the attention to all your students in the classroom.
So I just have one more question for you, Melissa. Who is an educator who has inspired and impacted you in some way throughout your career?
Oh, Megan, that's a really good question because I have had a lot of teachers that have been very impactful with my education and growing up. But I guess if you're making me choose one, maybe my band director, Megan, Mr. Sherrick, because he taught us how to be very resilient and to never give up. We were doing band practices 2-a-days, and he taught us to be kind. He taught us to believe in ourselves, and more importantly, he taught us that relentless hard work will always pay off in the end. And you know what, Megan, those life lessons are the lessons that will stay with you your whole life. Don't you agree?
I would agree with that. Thank you, Melissa, for joining me on Rooted today.
Thank you for having me, Megan.
And thank you for listening. Make sure you subscribe to Rooted on iTunes, Google Play, and Spotify. And remember, you can listen to Forester Radio over the air in Huntington on 105.5 WQHU, or stream us anytime, anywhere on ForesterRadio.com. Stay rooted.